everybody. It's Magda from Artists in Bloom. I have a great pleasure to run for you a really short espresso workshop or lecture, maybe, that will explain and reveal a little bit more about this mysterious topic called From Identity to Strategy. Before we will start with theory and practice and stories and examples, I will tell you a little bit more about myself if there are people listening now that didn't have a chance to meet Artists in Bloom or me or my team. We are running coaching, educational projects, and we do something that is called process design for cultural institutions. What we are really interested in are skills and competences that artists these days really need to succeed in the creative industries. And the music industry is one of our main areas where we do our research, where we design tools, where we design educational experiences, educational processes to raise these specific competences that artists need to be really professional and effective on the market. So strategy and identity is one of our favorite areas, I would say, skill areas. Unfortunately, we have really a little time to cover that, but I will do my best to help you to understand both of these aspects connected all together. What is it, what's going on in here? Why from identity to strategy? So let's start from the first part, from the identity. What is identity? This is the main question, and I will start from the basics, because we say a lot about identity in the music industry, that, you know, this image, this persona that the artist creates to develop their strong visibility on the market and amongst other artists, but to really understand and have the whole scope of what kind of tools you can use to work around your identity in the music industry, it's really worth to see what's before. So look at the identity in general, because I think this is really important topic that helps you to work on your professional profile. So in general, identity is the answer for questions like, who are you? What is your role? How do you define yourself? To who or what you can relate to? Of course, this bunch of questions is just those are just few examples. There are more questions, but I hope that you have an idea what is it all about. And recently, to explain what is our personal and this basic individual identity about, I often refer to a really great movie that is called DNA. It was directed in 2020 by Maven. This is a girl that is on the left on this picture because she also played a role in that movie. And I think that maybe this is not the best film in the world, but I think this is one of the best movies that shows what is the identity and the problems and challenges with identity about. So really shortly, the main character, this one on the left on the picture, she is half French and Vietnamese and half Algerian. And when her grandfather, her dear grandfather, who came to France from Algeria in the 60s, when he dies, she experienced something like a identity crisis. So she has so many roots and so many paths, and you can see this as part of her family. It's just a part of her family, but you can easily see that those people are really different. Some of them are very connected to these Algerian roots. Some of them are still Muslim practitioners. They are very religious. Some of them are completely assimilated to life in France, in Paris, and they forget about whole family history. So every person in that family chose what is best for him or for her. So for the main character, it starts to be really confusing, because this grandfather was giving her a sense of identity too, like a connection to where is she coming from. And after his death, she starts her own journey of looking for her own identity. So she's asking herself these questions: who I can relate to, who am I, what are my beliefs, what are my rituals, what is my background? And she tries to reshape a little bit her sense of identity. And in general, if you will look about the whole history of culture, not only music, but films, literature, this searching for what you call your own identity, like this sense of yourself, who you are, who you relate to, is one of the biggest questions in the history. The biggest existential questions, the biggest topics that all the artists in many, like all areas practically, artists try to answer this question. So sometimes people say that all songs about love. You can also say that all songs about like looking for your own identity and your own place in the world. So the identity is about that. So you can see from my reference to this movie, you can understand and you can easily see that on this personal level, identity is about your personality, about your roots, about your background, about your gender, about your preferences, about so many things. So you can see that there is personal level, social level, political level, economical level. Like every aspect of our life adds something to this basic understanding of who we are and what our identity is. Not even mentioning our visual side. Okay, so if we understand this, what means identity in the music industry? So it's more connected to who am I as an artist and who I want to present to my audience. So that's why I think that answering the questions about your personal identity is so important, because then it's more easily to answer the questions that are connected strictly to your persona that you present as an artist, or you as a manager try to you help the artist to shape it. So what kind of questions we can support with? Okay, who am I? It's a basic question. So you can here answer the questions, this question more directly. As a fact, I'm a rock star, or I'm a folk singer, or I'm a storyteller, or I am you can somehow relate here to your musical genre, your main role that you have in your musical activity, but you can also here relate to more metaphorical level, that I'm a kind of bard that tells old universal stories to remind people what is the most important in the world, for example. What am I doing? So what is your activity? Because if you want to be a bard or a folk singer, there are 100 ways how to do that and how to be with your audience. So it's worth to specify that. What are my strengths? So it's great to know, is it my voice, or is it the relation that I can build with my audience, because I'm very direct and very, I easily connect with people, or I easily express my emotions and works for the audience. It's super, super important. What is unique about me? So you have to really understand in this work around identity, what is culpable. Culpable, I don't know if I think I just invented a word. What is totally not possible to be doubled or to be similar to other artists. Unique value proposition. This is also what we use on the market often. What are my beliefs? So if you will look around, every artist believes in something and people express it more or less, even if it's not connected with any kind of political, social views. Those are views about ourselves, about the world, about being here. What is important for me in my music? So this is a question about values. What is my mission? Why am I doing it at all? On this question, I will admit that artists always struggle with that question, but it's super, super important. And if you have a clarity around that, that's really great and will help you a lot in working around identity, but also around strategy. Who I want to play for, who is my audience? Of course, even if the identity is about you as an artist, it's really easy to define your identity if you know who you want to play for, what kind of people you want to connect with, to what kind of people you want to dedicate your work. And there are different strategies to identity in music. I will explain that based on two really strong examples, and I think it will be super easy to see. You don't need an introduction here. It's one of the greatest personalities in the music industry. It's Bowie. And you can see that his identity was changing through times. And that was one of his greatest qualities in his music career, in his story, that he was within every album, he was somehow creating a persona that was meeting again with his audience. And that was his way of working with the musical identity, or identity in the music industry, or image, or persona. You can call it whatever you like. He was inspired by theater. I hope you know Bowie's story. He loved improvisation. He loved performance. So he was really a lot into that, and that inspired him to all these strategies that were based on creating a different persona on the stage for people, for audience. Recently, I was watching a documentary on Netflix that was quite interesting, and the journalist asks Bowie a question while he's planning a return from United States to London. Okay, so Bowie, who are you going to be? And he answers, I don't know yet. I didn't figure it out yet. So it was always a creative process of building a new representative for the material that was released on the album. So very, very interesting strategy. Something completely different is represented by, for example, Polish musician Hania Rani, Polish pianist, composer, also singer. You may know her if you're not from Poland, because she's one of the most successful artists on the international scene. She's released and managed by companies outside Poland. So she's doing very, very well. And if you will see her music videos, if you will see her interviews and visual content for social media or press, you will always see someone who's very, very natural, very cozy, very authentic, we would say. But this is a tricky thing and very interesting topic in this identity aspect, because this is how she decided to be. Like, for example, Bowie also decided to be, at the end of his career, to be more authentic, to be more direct, without all these, suits put it on. But maybe the strategies are the same, but still it's about making a very, very conscious decision of who I want to present to my audience, and what kind of tools I will use to do that. So Hania Rani just chose a very coherent, very consequent way to present herself as that kind of person, as a very natural person, very authentic, let's say normal. But you have to be, before we will switch the strategy, you have to just be aware that even if you will decide to, put on like old clothes with holes in it and to just manifest that I will not put a shiny, and I will not shiny, I don't know, image created by other people. It's also a statement. So even if you think that you're not making a decision about your identity and how you want to be presented to the audience, you're still doing it somehow, even if you're making a decision, I don't want to, put the heavy makeup on. So this is the whole basically the core about identity in the music industry, that you define what is important for you and who you are and what you want to do and why you want to do it, and you look for the best best tools to transfer that through your image, through your performance, through your activity, etc., etc. So now let's try to make this journey from identity to strategy, because probably it may be a bit surprising. Okay, how does these two connect? This is a bit suspicious. Well, it's not suspicious. Identity is a source of greatest ideas for your strategy. And I will show you that on this infographic. I know it may look a bit crazy. I will explain step by step what can you see here to really be with me on the same page. Because as you probably know, I imagine that you worked already around strategy a lot. Strategic thinking or building a strategy is one of the complex competences in the music industry. It's really challenging, and you really need to, you have the long-term visioning, you need to know how to set the goals, but also you need to know how to build the best tactics and actions, and you need to know how to estimate budgets, etc., etc. So there is a lot of activities in one place happening simultaneously. And okay, how it is connected with identity. So let's start from the left side of this infographic. We have here the artists, and you can see that identity is one of the aspects that are really need to be analyzed if you want to build a strategy. Besides identity, so answering the question, who do you want to be in the music market? Who do you want to be to your audience? What is that person that you want to reveal to the world of music? Besides these questions, there are important questions about motivation. And it's also somehow connected, of course, that's why it's in one circle, motivation and values. So what are important values of your in your career? What do you care for? What you don't want to, you know, step out from? Is it, I don't know, connection? Is it about ecology, or is it about friendship? Is it about love? Values, justice, motivation. It's always a question: why do you want to do this? Why is it making you so energized and excited about? This is also very important to understand these aspects, because it will build a completely different ideas for your strategy. We also have this, let's say, another circle, let's say, in this figure, in this round shape. You have the offer, resources, unique value proposition, mission. I know that those aspects appeared already in the questions about identity, but here we are thinking more with this market orientation. So what is my band's or artist's promise? So if I'm a great artist, what my audience can count on, what my bookers can count on, what my manager can count on. This is what offer is about. Unique value proposition is, I mentioned that before. It's about seeing what is really unique about me, but also here in this context of strategy is about really understanding what is going on the market and why my offer is so interesting. Also resources and mission. So what is my fan base? What is my statistic? Do I have money? Do I have a team? Do I have a great ideas? Because not everything is about physical aspects. It's also the resources is the artistic proposition itself, or great ideas to realize. And mission, of course, it's the understanding of why we want to do what we want to do in a wider perspective. So you can see here that these aspects are somehow base always for the strategy. The strategy is about setting goals. We can now switch a little bit to the right side of the graphic, because we here have long-term goals, short-term goals, because strategy is about defining what we want to achieve in a longer time and how you want to do that. So you have this these lines that are joining left side and the right side. So it's about designing proper actions, tactics that will lead us to our goals. So if we want to be a really huge rock star on international level, we need to understand that there are few steps that leads to that position, and we need to understand and have it really clear idea what kind of steps and when these steps has to happen to really achieve that goal. And of course, strategy is about evaluation and seeing if our ideas and our tactics are working. There is also this area in the yellow sphere here, market stakeholders, because of course strategy is happening in a very specific context. So you need to understand who is important people on your market in the area you are working. Are these cultural institutions or managers or labels? You need to understand who is there on the market to really build a good strategy. Allies, there is one place on this graphic called allies, because this is your network, people of your friends, your business partners that supports this road to your big goals, to your great future. What else do we have here? We have trends and we have social insight. Trends, of course, they are very important thing in building your strategy, because if you do not look around what is happening on the market and how is it changing your strategy, maybe not actual and adapted to what is really happening in your local music industry. Trends are super important because they are shaping the waves on the market, especially now, because during pandemic, things are really changing very, very fast. So it's really worth to see not only events and occurrences, but also see, okay, is it something bigger that more people will be doing, or is it just an idea that will pass, or some kind of behavior? Social insight, for me, it's a ability or a skill to see something that is appearing on the market, and there is and gives you a chance to move forward. So it's a skill or competence of listening what people are saying, to understand their needs, to also see where they are heading. So it's, in general, it's insight to what's going on, not only in my music, in my studio, in my band, in my team, but also in a wider area of my work. So that was a really short comment of what is happening here on this infographic about strategy. And you can see that, every goal, every tactic, every strategy will be based on who you are and what kind of artist you are, meaning on your identity and how well you defined it. So let's look at the example. This is a Polish, very successful Polish artist called Brodka, and her strategy is, I would say, similar to Bowie. With every album, she's becoming someone else. She's choosing a different aesthetics, different ideas for how to perform, how to be with people, different clothes, different musical style. So if you now think about her specific decisions about how she wants to, what kind of artist she wants to be, she will consequently, coherently play in different clubs, play on different festivals. She will speak to a different media. She will have completely different goals and visions for her as an artist. And if you will see, for example, our different Dagadana, an artist that is Dagadana is a band, a Polish-Ukrainian band that made a quite impressive international also career, and they are working. They are world music band. They traveled in so many interesting countries and traveling into so many different cultures, doing some collaborations. And if you will now think about this completely different context, different genre, different musical style that input a different different context and different community, you will have a different answers for the question. What kind of places you want to play your gigs, who you want to work with, what is your best and biggest dream about collaboration, what kind of visual appearance you want to make, what kind of impression you want to make on your audience, and what is your goal, what is your vision for the future. So if we will, if we will go back for a little moment here, you can see that every artist, I showed you with a strong intention 2 artists that are successful in Poland, and with whom you can see very, very strong direction and idea of how we want to be as an artist on the stage and in our musical career. And this is thanks to this strong choices, you can see that every decision about the future, strategic moves will be completely different. That's why we make this path from identity to strategy, because we first need to really answer the questions about ourselves, because then every question about our strategy and the future, where we see our future, will be easier. Because if I know that I'm like Hania Rani, I will see myself, I will see my success, for example, in a amazing, spacious places for my music, when there is atmosphere, when there is some kind of coziness, maybe a little bit of mystery. But if I'm Beyonce, I will imagine myself with a completely different entourage and people around me, and I will look for different tactics that will lead me to a goal connected with the different performative ideas, right? So I always like to give examples that easily show these differences. So I have 2 exercises for you to practice these aspects that I mentioned here in almost an hour. So exercise 1 are connected with the questions that I mentioned before. These questions seems to be simple. When I read them, when I see them, they seem to be super easy, but they may not be. Who am I? what am I doing? What are my strengths? What is unique about me? What are my beliefs? What is important for me in my music? What is my mission? Why am I doing it all? Who I want to play for? Who is my audience? So my proposition here is to really answer these questions and write them down. I know that it's sometimes easy with that kind of things to just like, you know, have this thinking around many things that you do every day, just like to have these questions at the back of your head. I get it. Let it flow, great. But later, when you will think about it, write it down. It's really important to use words and linear thinking that we use in writing on paper or on your computer. So then you will see that sometimes small differences between one word and another makes a huge, huge difference. You can be super creative and you can write on more metaphorical level. You can be super concrete, but really try to find answers that you will relate to. And even if you at the beginning you think, okay, I don't see anything extraordinary, or I don't see anything that is really different from other artists, then dig more. Just try to do something creative, watch interesting films, read books. I think this kind of questions, that it's also part of the process. So maybe at first just write it down, look at it, and see what you have, what you're satisfied with, and look at it from also critical level. Okay, what is missing? What should I define more? What kind of content I'm missing, and it would be great to develop it. Also, a great inspiration is, of course, are other artists, like, because the answers for these questions appear on multi-channels that they run. You can find part of the answers in the books about them, part of the answers you can see in their music videos, and some of them in their lyrics. So it's a multi-text body of work about identity. I also have an exercise tool, also very important and more connected with the strategy. So the question is, if you could have a chance to strengthen your ID qualities and build on them successful music career, where would you like to be in 3 years' time? I will read it once more. If you could have a chance to strengthen your ID qualities and build on them successful music career, where would you like to be in 3 years' time? So as you can see, exercise number 2 has to be done after exercise number 1. So if I want to, for example, be one of these creative, performative type of artists that want to build a completely different persona that is making a huge impression on the audience because of the, I don't know, playing around gender issues, for example, or equality, or I want to create a persona that is mixing theater and music and performance and art, or I want to do something very spectacular connected with fashion and self-expression, or I just want to have very unusual concerts when I have a conversation with my audience. If that will be growing and bringing really great effects, and my fan base will be growing, where do I want to be in 3 years' time? So if you could imagine that something that is really great about your identity and your musical concept that you're working on now, and you want to introduce, or you are already introducing to your market, if that will be growing and finding their people where they want to be in 3 years' time. So see what are you saying, if something that you're creating with your identity or around your identity that is growing, and what is where is it taking you to. And here I have one suggestion, because of course the second question is about super important thing. It's about long-term future. Some time ago, before pandemic, we were using this perspective of 5 years time. Now it's not so realistic because the market is changing so quickly that we are using 3 years time. But it's about long-term future. And I really encourage you to be bold in imagining. We use a technique in Artist in Bloom that is called dragon dreaming. That's why on next slide there is a Japanese dragon to just give you some courage to be bold and break the boundaries of your imagination. If you think that it's not a good idea, I will just tell you that we do that with my team in my company, and we think it's super important to sometimes really spread your wings in thinking about your future, and do not feel for a moment any obstacles, to just see what we really want to do in our career, in our development, in our future. So for artists, this is specifically important. So I really encourage you to become a dragon dreamer and to make this exercise with a really bold attitude, because in strategy, like this long-term vision in this maxi version is super important to then think about what is really possible. So I think that will be it. This is my identity on the left, more dancing one than a super dry person behind the desk. So if you have any questions, you can drop a line. Please feel free to ask any question if something is not clear. With this lecture or exercise, you can also find us on this website here, written on the slide, and of course on social media. So thank you for your time, and good luck with your work and with your career and development. Thank you.